Well, it's been 7 days since I started using the new block ratio 4.3 update, as you can see here. The ratio promised that it will bring some 65% battery improvements previous to what we already had. And yeah, right off the bat, I can definitely confirm that the battery has been greatly improved. Like, I'm not seeing those crazy 10% battery drains even when the phone was on standby. But even after all of that, I'm still not going to be using this from now as my daily launcher. I'm going to be going back to Olauncher. I'll explain why. You see, when the block ratio first came out, it was a very ambitious project, and it still is. The root feature is pretty unique, the tree feature was coming out, and it was a very exciting time. But after using Olauncher for a while, if you haven't checked out the video, you can check it out from there. But Olauncher was a very minimal take on essentially what block ratio was trying to do, but it doesn't have all the the pizzazz that this launcher has. As a result, it was very lightweight on the battery, and it worked really great. And while I was waiting for the ratio to update to 4.3, I continued using Olauncher, and I got so used to it that I almost missed Olauncher even when I was using ratio this past week. Like, there is a gesture which is very helpful. If you swipe from the left in Olauncher, it will automatically launch the phone dialer, and from the right it goes to the camera, which is perfect for me because those two are the default apps that I always use a lot. I've even set a dedicated button of my phone, the Bixby button, to launch the camera app every single time. So it's really useful for me to have two shortcuts at once. So I can set this button for one camera app and the swipe for another camera app. Whereas here, I still have to search for individual apps and I have to go through drawers, right? That kind of defeats the purpose of quick access and minimalism to me. I mean, I didn't see it at first. When I first used Ratio Launcher, I thought it was completely unique and it was great. And it still is. I'm not saying it's bad. But Olauncher, I think it does it in a better way. Instead of having drawers, Olauncher directly has shortcuts on the home screen. And yes, I know that you can eliminate all of these and only keep a few icons on your own. But I still feel that, for my use case at least, Olauncher does it a little bit better. Speaking on the battery, even though that drastic battery drain has been fixed for the most part, I still see at least 1 or 2% extra drain compared to something like Olauncher or even my stock launcher. So this thing does indeed drain around 1% or 2% extra battery when you're still using it. The standby time has greatly improved though. It doesn't consume any battery when it's on standby. But while you're using it, I do see a little bit higher usage. I mean, 1 or 2% higher, which is a great improvement from where we were before. But it's still not on par with something that's truly minimal and lightweight like Olauncher is. Now, while earlier I could not recommend this launcher to many people, I mean, I told you to check it out, but I understood when many of you complained that it drains a lot of battery and many of you uninstalled. I understood that. I mean, I was one of the first to get access to this because of their invite system, right? They had a wait list, so I got early access to the features like the tree and everything. But even after using it, I found that it's not something that I would typically use. I mean, I have no problems answering the messages directly from my notification feed. Most of the messaging apps that we use, like Telegram and everything, we can directly message them back here anyways, right? So we don't need a separate app to do that. I thought at first that this would be a great app to integrate all my emails and notifications in one place, but it doesn't work that way. It only works for social media. I mean, I don't use social media too much. I use emails and app notifications and along with a few social media messages, I guess. But I would like to have all of them in one place. I have 3 to 4 different inboxes. So I would have liked to see a unified interface that could bring all of them together, but that's not how it works. If you haven't used them before, or if you had already used it and uninstalled it because it was consuming a lot of battery, I encourage you to download it again and check it out because the battery issues have largely been solved. But the main reason for me to go back to Olauncher is the usability. I really don't need all these things. And I'm definitely enjoying the performance improvements as well. Like I remember complaining about the lagginess that I face sometimes when I'm scrolling through the app interface like this. It's completely gone. The animations are much higher frame rate, as I mentioned in my other video. It's super smooth. All the useful features that we saw, like the app resizing and the individual functions that the app has, like the lock, or you can even set a custom brightness for that particular app if you use it or you tend to use it late at night. You can do all those things, and that's really great. But after you switch to an app that doesn't have any of those, you realize that you don't even need those things, right? I mean, who needs all these all the time? Once in a while, you're just trying to access something and you don't really care about the features and functions. In fact, what would be useful is to have a shortcut with a swipe or a tap or something like that. And that's where launchers like Less Phone and Olauncher, they really excel. But anyways, I hope you got an idea of using the new ratio 4.3 update. I still recommend this to everyone. Like anyone who's curious about this, I still recommend that you download and check it out. But I personally won't be using this as my main launcher. I'm still going to be switching back to Olauncher as my daily launcher. This thing is pretty great. I really miss this swipe left to the app dialer and swipe right to a camera. That's super handy. So let me know what you think of the block ratio 4.3 if you have used it. Oh, and by the way, this keyboard, I'm almost done using the Cosmic Byte, what's that, CBGK18, right? This is the Automo Red version. I've used it for the past 3 weeks or so. I'm going to be using it for 1 more week and give you my 1 month long-term review. So consider subscribing if you haven't. This thing is pretty amazing, and you probably already know that I'll be saying a lot of great things about it. Some of you have asked me about the keyboard issues, like you had some questions. I'll be covering all of those questions in that review, so subscribe for that if you haven't. Let me know if you have any further questions on the Ratio 4, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.